Hey guys, thanks for supporting the generic tech support channel. This is Tech Guy 1. Just wanted to thank you guys all for making this channel great. Like and subscribe if you guys haven't already. Hey guys, welcome to Windows 98 Anime Edition. So during the installation process, I like to record all of our installations. However, I'm going to zoom way in on the screen because as it's Windows 98, it starts off as 600 by or 640 by 480, I believe, is the maximum resolution during the installation process. So we're going to start off with a relatively zoomed in screen, and I apologize if there's a blip between the zoomed in screen and what our actual screen shows once we get into the operating system. So much like everything we record during the installation process, this is the first screen we get when we boot off the actual disk. As you can see, it looks like it starts Norton or Semantic Ghost, which on this particular configuration, I'm going to choose to continue without marking drives because I don't really need Ghost. We have no requirement or need for a go back function in our Windows 98 Anime Edition. As it turns out, it appears that we have to use Ghost because apparently the image for this actual Anime Edition is housed inside of the Ghost system itself. And it appears that the Ghost system was created, at least, with the configuration. Now that said, it's not happy about the mouse configuration in my VMware system. So let's see if we can actually get to where we need to get in order to click on it. We may have to reboot the system to actually do this. Okay, so it appears that the system is now loading. And again, I'll just let this thing record most of this stuff because chances are you guys are never going to see this again on any systems or mod on ISO builds that we do the installation on. This particular one was released approximately 2001. However, it has remained kind of dormant and not really used. It was developed, and I believe it was developed actually in Peru. And somebody sent me the link for this, so I figured we'd check this out. Okay, so it just appears that the clone completed successful. So let's see. Interesting. So it's interesting that it would throw that error since there's 4 gigs of memory actually allocated to this. So it appears that maybe the virtual memory there's not enough resources on the actual disk through the clone. I'm not really sure yet what we're going to have to do. Let's decrease the actual physical memory to 256 and reboot it and see if it comes back up. Okay, so it's now booting again. I don't know if we'll see the same error message. I decreased it to 256 megs from the 4 gigs that I had allocated to it. Which appears to have made a difference. Well, that's going to be interesting. Now, I have, bear with me for a few seconds here. I do have an MSDN account, and it's possible that this still exists in my MSDN. So give me a few here to see if this does, and if it does, I'll put the key in. Bear with me. So as you can tell, the key that I have in my MSDN actually did work. So let's reboot it now and see what this OS looks like. Okay, so we obviously have some display driver issues. Now I do have the legacy version of the display drivers for VMware, so I'm going to attempt to install that real quick and reboot the system, and then hopefully we'll come back up in full color mode. Alright, so I just popped the CD in the tray. Let's see if it actually works. Interestingly enough, it appears that the image actually had a VMware tools installed on it already. So let's repair it and see if that makes any difference at all. Sure. Okay, so we're coming back up. Okay, so we're back up, and we do have visuals again. So that's a plus. We also have an error, but it's Windows 98, so yeah, I would imagine so. I'm actually surprised we have as good of visuals as we do through VMware Player on this particular system. So what this system is it's Windows 98 second edition, the Plus version, and it came packaged with a ton of software that was really popular back in the early 2000s. And I thought this would be interesting to check out just because the package that it is. So we have a bunch of stuff on here. We have Napster. We have the Netscape Communicator, which includes the AOL Instant Messenger and the Netscape Navigator. We have a Norton Commander, the utilities in the Commander. We have the Quicken software. So Quicken Early Entry 2000. QuickTime. Oh man, we have Real Player 7. Shockwave. There's CompuServe tray notification and icon. These are for the startup directory. We have TurboTax Deluxe 1999. Web Painter. There's the Adaptec CD Creator. So Real CD Creator is really actually pretty cool. The fact that it exists on here is even cooler. There's Adobe Acrobat version 4, America Online 5. I don't really know what Astound is. I'm guessing, yeah, so it's some kind of a 3D graphics software, which is really neat. You know, I understand from the time that this took place, which is, 2000, 2001 when this was created, that was 23 years ago. So a lot of this stuff is stuff that I remember from when I first, well, not really first, but it's probably about 4 years of experience by the time this was released. So I remember all of these things from that time period, which is kind of fun. So Microsoft Games, we have Ages of Empire Gold, Microsoft Golf Edition 1999, Midtown Madness, which is dope. That's an awesome game. Monster Truck Madness 2, the Pinball Arcade, and then Puzzle Collection. So there's quite a bit of stuff on here. There's Bookshelf 2000 for the Microsoft Reference Guide. And this isn't the full list. Wow, there's a lot of stuff on this thing. It's the original version of Microsoft or Windows Media Player. There's Net Meeting. AT&T WorldNet Services. There's the Norton SystemWorks. So Norton Antivirus. Good God. Norton Antivirus 2000. Should later be called Boat Anchor Edition because it used to catastrophically limit the system utilization. Yahoo Messenger. There's WinDVD. So back in the day, DVDs didn't just play on your operating systems. You just needed software to play it. And it wasn't built into the Windows Media Player. None of the codecs were. So you used to have third-party software to actually run it. So it's wild to me that all this stuff actually exists on here. We have Microsoft Office. I believe that's Office 2000. I'm not going to be able to tell that when we actually go into it. Yeah, it's Office 2000. Yeah, we can get rid of that. That's fine. This is amazing. Semantic PC Anywhere. Semantic Act, Semantic Visual Page. There's the Macromedia software, so Macromedia Flash Player. So you can actually use this to play Flash games if you still have any laying around. This will actually run them because it's got the standalone version of Flash installed on it. Internet Gaming Zone, so Fighter Ace, Internet Gaming Zone. Ultra Corps, what is the, Zone.com. I wonder if that still exists. Anybody ever go to Zone.com? Does that still exist as a gaming site? There's the Stamps.com. Microsoft Works, the home publishing software, Microsoft Streets and Trips. Keep in mind there was still no like Google Maps. That didn't exist yet. Neither did oh god, I guess MapQuest was probably at the infancy stage around 2001. I don't know exactly when they started, but MapQuest was really about the first one out there that really used online mapping. Microsoft Streets and Trips 2000 was probably just a CD version that you could download and install so you could plan your trips using a map and then basically print out your directions. Microsoft Clip. There's Microsoft Encarta 2000. .NET Framework. Wizard and then Microsoft Money. There's an enormous amount of software on this system. And the crazy thing is, assuming it all works, that would make this one of the most complete Windows systems from this time period that I've seen. So what do you guys think? What should we start clicking on? Now that I click on a couple things here to see if they work, but let me know if you guys are interested in seeing if these games work. So like, for instance, let's see if Microsoft Money Central works. Can we open that? Yeah, it's a website. That's not going to work. It's quarter deck zip it. So it's basically WinZip or something like WinZip. It's Quicken Deluxe 2000. Kind of register for it if you want to use it, which clearly that's not going to work. It does open though. Needs the CD-ROM, which we don't have. Quick Entry 2000 for Quicken. Let's just exit Quicken. Let's see what else we got in here. I mean, there's so much. Let's see if this Adaptec CD Creator works. So this is version 2.1. So this creates audio tracks. So Adaptec CD Creator and Nero were really like at it, fighting with each other for the best CD creator software that you could use at the time. And they really did have a lot of cool stuff. Now I don't know if this one has it. Yeah, you could do sound editing. So this is actually cool. So basically, if you wanted to burn a CD back in the day and you had a whole bunch of tracks, you could merge the tracks into each other to make an entire mixtape, to actually mix the stuff straight together with the software like this. And that was a big thing back in the day. And quite frankly, even now, when I go to rip a CD or if I go to like, put it on a thumb drive, we don't have that option or that function anymore to really create those 3D sound or 8D effects. All that stuff was built into these pieces of software that came pre-packaged with your desktops when you purchased them. So the fact that it exists here on a package from Windows 98 is quite frankly awesome. Now, I don't know why this is called Anime Edition outside of maybe the desktop background. I don't really see anything customized in here. I just know from a package standpoint, I mean, it even has Photoshop. I wonder if that works. Holy crap, it does. Yeah, this is pretty awesome. This is really just a blast from the past awesome. And this is not an operating system that I'm necessarily going to run scans against. We can run scans against this. If you guys are interested in seeing the security scans, the next video we'll do scans against it to see what it actually shows for Windows 98. But I can't imagine it's going to be good just because there's a ton of crap installed on this thing. And the best it will be is patched to 2001, which is 23 years ago. Let's see what else works in here. So that's awesome. America Online works. Now we should put a network adapter on this thing and try to connect it to America Online. And the reason why I'm not really worried about viruses or spyware or ransomware or any of that stuff on Windows 98 is because the most this thing's going to run is going to be pretty much a standard antivirus will find it in any system that's current. So if I put this on the net and it connects to the infrastructure and I have another system running on the infrastructure and it infects the other infrastructure, the worst it's going to do is give me pop-ups for cheap or free Viagra. This whole thing of ransomware didn't exist in this time period. And since this thing was packaged in 2001, really not overly concerned with anything that it could possibly contain. Now, I just happen to have a Win server on my infrastructure, so I just turned that system on, which is now running in the background. Let's see if this actually works. Let's see if we could connect to something with this. Oh, this is for dial-up. That's even funnier. Okay, so clearly dial-up's not going to work for us, right? Because we don't have... Well, I shouldn't say that. I could use dial-up. I have a dial-up modem sitting somewhere in this house that we could use, but I don't have a POTS line. And if you don't know what POTS is, it's plain old telephone system, POTS. So I don't have a way to connect that. I guess I could use some kind of a connection and synthesize it. I have a way to well, I could run a dial-up server if we really needed to test a dial-up connection. But it seems like a lot of work in order for us to test AOL, ultimately to find that it doesn't work on the internet any longer. So I don't think that's going to work. Let's see what happens if we maybe try Napster. What do you think? Napster maybe work? Probably end up with somebody at my front door telling me I shouldn't download something. Basically, it would be probably Lars, and Metallica would show up at my front door and complain. And if you don't know about that, and you're one of the younger generation that doesn't get that, ask the question in the comments. Somebody in the older generation will point out what happened with Napster, Metallica, and I think it was Snoop Dogg that got together and made Napster go away. So I just accepted the terms of service, and this is what I get. Connection speed. Is it a 14.4 baud, 28.8, 33.6, 56K? There's ISDN. ISDN 128 was back in the day. It was fast. Cable, DSL, T1, and a T3. So we're going to say cable, even though I think by today's standards, our cable connections make T3 connections look like dial-up, which is a massive, massive difference in speed, because at the time, cable, you were lucky if you got maybe 10 meg. 10 meg connection on cable was still worlds faster than your ISDNs or your DSL, but your DSL usually was faster than cable for up, but download speeds were faster on the actual cable connection. Let's see what happens. Shocker. So no Napster. Somebody leave a comment down below and let me know if Napster still exists in some way, shape, or form. All right, so we tested a couple things. So far, we're 0 for, I guess, 2. Let's see what else we got in here. We got the Real Player. If the Real Player network still works. Boy, these connection speed questions are funny. Yeah, so 10 meg LAN. I don't think any of this stuff really matters. If anybody remembers the sound, it just played it in the background. You may have to turn it up to hear it, but wow, this is a blast from the past, guys. My guess is none of this stuff will work anymore. I don't even know if Real exists anymore. Does anybody know what Real Player is? Does anybody use the Real Player configuration? Does anybody know if any of this stuff still works or if there's updated versions of this stuff? This was an amazing application back in the day, but it's pretty much gone by today's standards. I haven't seen it in probably like 15 years. So it appears that Real is out. Now, I think we had Winamp on here somewhere, if I remember correctly seeing that. Maybe I'm not seeing that. Maybe I'm making that up or just thought I saw that in here. But Winamp would work. Winamp still has the remote access connections. That stuff still works. I don't know if the streaming service still works, but you could still use Winamp as it is. The question is, how about like Norton Antivirus? We saw that in here somewhere, right? We saw Symantec. I still can't believe Net Meeting is on here. Netscape Online. What do you think? That's funny. So we don't have Netscape Online because we don't have a way to use dial-up on that one. Got AOL Instant Messenger. I'm sure the application still works. So guys, leave a comment down below if you had an AOL Instant Messenger name, and if you used Badass Buddy and you know what that is, what was your icon when you had AOL? Boy, I remember my screen name for AOL IM, but I don't think that's going to work on here. I know for a fact that the AOL server shut down. Now, I'm assuming that there's probably modifications or open source communities that have decided to put that back in some kind of way. So Full Tilt 2 from Maxis So that was before Electronic Arts bought them. So it was probably a good game. There's ICQ configurations. FileMaker Pro. Calendar Creator. Ha! CompuServe. Let's see if Adobe Reader still opens. That it does. I know we recently looked at an application that was with Adobe Reader. It's properties. Let's find the target. I know that the new application is a gig in size. This one's 65.8 meg. That seems better to me. Full Photoshop package is 57.2 meg. Also better to me than the newer versions. So we clicked around a bit here and we took a look. Let's see what else is going on in this operating system. I go to Add Remove Programs. I'm curious what we got in here. Got a lot. We have a lot. Perhaps not surprisingly. I think one of the most interesting things in this thing is going to be whether or not the games work. And then ultimately, I'm thinking we should definitely run a scan on it because it's really out of curiosity as to how bad it actually looks. I got a lot of stuff. It's awesome that this exists, though. I mean, it's really like a time capsule of an operating system. So here's the Tweak UI configuration. And this existed factory in Windows 98 to give you the ability to tweak the operating system to how you liked it. Not like our current Windows 11 that really doesn't do that. It kind of jams a whole bunch of crap down your throat, and if you don't like it, you just don't use it. They gave you options back in the day to actually make changes to these operating systems, and they're pretty awesome. That's how QuickTime Player works. Shouldn't we upgrade it? Nah. Oh, that's pretty funny. So I don't see anything in the Add Remove Programs that would be vindictive, even by a 2000 standard, so I wouldn't worry about that so much. I'm kind of curious. And you'll notice that in that actual box there, I didn't type in CMD, I typed in command. Because there is no CMD in Windows 98, it is command. So those are of you guys that are interested in knowing who made this. It is Amanware is the name of the actual person. And you can see it's Windows 98 Anime Edition version 2. Pentium 2 processor, 256 megs of RAM. Now, obviously this system is not running a Pentium 2 processor. This is a 10th gen Intel i5, but at the time I'm guessing they modified the OS configuration to show a Pentium 2, even if you're running on a Pentium 4 for nostalgic reasons. I mean, I don't see too much else in here from a configuration. So yeah, memory allocation 256 megs. System resources 48% free. I mean, the disk is only 8 gigs. I mean, you guys are talking about your small operating systems that contain a lot of, like, are stripped of everything, and they're like 2 or 3 gigs. Windows 98 is your friend then, because these systems had 8 gigs with everything under the sun installed on it. I mean, we're used 4.73 gigs, so 4.73 gigs on it, and there is an enormous application library on this system. So you want to talk about small operating system, this is a small operating system, especially by today's standards. I actually think it's great. Virtual memory settings. It's the graphics controller. File system. Quad speed or higher. Yeah, so that was a big thing back in the day too, is you wanted a CD-ROM drive that would do double speed or triple speed. Eventually it got to like X32 and X64, where it was 64 times the speed for the read and write. And, you know, that was a big thing back in the day, because the faster that disk moved, the faster you could load videos and things like that. And it just became a race of something that was just basically stupid, because ultimately if they just changed the form factor, the media itself, they would have gotten more speed. They got to a point where they were doing tests where the disks were actually flying apart inside of the disk drives because of the speed of the disk. So it's really funny to actually see it in these operating systems. So there's really not much else in here because there really was not much to begin with in the operating system. You could create user accounts. You can zip things and add it to there or add it in place. Map network drives. You can do find directly through here to actually do the searches. These are things that I think that in a lot of ways, that if you look at these older operating systems and see how they worked, you'll realize that a lot of the newer operating systems are missing a lot of functionality that was actually helpful in these older OSs. Now, I still don't understand why this is considered Anime Edition, because I don't really see anything in here that I would call anime. So, I mean, we have pictures. There's nothing in there. We have music. We have something called Beck. I don't even know. Now, I know that Windows 98 came with audio on some things like clips that you could listen to test speakers, because, you know, having speakers on a computer that listen to music and things like that, that was new in Windows 95, tail end of Windows 95, Windows 98. That was really the first machines that you really listened to music on. Most of the systems prior to that were just, you know, you would get beep codes and that's about it, but they weren't speakers attached to the system. I mean, not like today. Today it's, you know, the built-in audio cards in these systems today blow even the Sound Blaster cards away from these days. So we go to ACT. We have an ACT database. We don't have any documentation. There's really nothing else in there, right? Windows setup directory. That's really about it. There's nothing really else in here from a configuration standpoint. You know, there's no Windows firewall built into these systems, so there is no firewall to screw around with to check to see if there's anything allowed through the firewall. Firewall doesn't exist. That's an afterthought on this. There's no built-in antivirus, so there's no Defender. There's none of that stuff. Again, I think we had Norton, but even that, I don't see the little shield, although the background's kind of busy and my eyes are not quite what they used to be. There we go, Norton Antivirus. Let's go to Norton Antivirus 2000 and see what we got in here. It's protecting us from 42,127 viruses, which is about all the viruses that existed in the days of the Windows 98 operating system. I'm guessing today's are probably in the millions, but that's what it gives you for Norton Antivirus. What are the chances you think that this thing will do an update? I'm probably begging for it, but I don't think this is gonna work. Let's check the internet. Holy crap, I think that actually worked. As it turns out, that actually worked. That means that Norton still has antivirus updates for their original Norton 2000 product. 24 years later, you could still update the Norton antivirus, which is insane. I mean, you guys notice now, right? Nothing's in red. Oh, I spoke too soon. It got very upset with me and decided to just crap out. I actually think that we have frozen solid on our Windows 98 image. It's really too bad because, I mean, in reality, it could give this thing way more memory and utilization process, but Windows 98 just doesn't give you the options for that stuff that you got in your, you know, Windows 2000 and then Windows XP days. All right, guys, so unfortunately, system BSOD'd. And on reboot, obviously, we're coming up. But the truth of the matter is that these operating systems, Windows 9X operating systems, your Windows 95, your Windows 98, the Windows ME, they weren't well put together operating systems. They had issues. They were buggy. They were laggy. They had problems with your boot cycles. You would end up with blue screen of death issues because applications didn't work well with them. They didn't work well with the memory allocation, and this was a common occurrence. A lot of the time you would just rebuild the system, or you would hard boot it after it crashed. Generally speaking, you wouldn't read the BSOD, and you would just start over because that's the way the operating systems were. In reality, the 9X was never as good as the operating systems that existed in the NT world. So NT4, NT35, NT Workstation, NT Server, Windows 2000, Windows XP. Those are all NT operating systems. The 9X operating systems, on the other hand, they just were never as good. And as a result, this is a common occurrence. But that said, Norton itself is a boat anchor and always has been, which generally speaking caused a lot of problems for a lot of people in these older operating systems. So guys, tell me, what do you want to see in this operating system? Do you guys want to take a look at our actual scan results? Do you want to do anything with it? Do you want me to attempt to secure a Windows 98 system? Let me know in the comments if this is too old for what you guys are running reviews of, or if this is something that you guys would be interested in learning more about.